Want more earthworms? Do these 5 things and avoid these 4 mistakes that drive them away. When it comes to building rich, healthy soil, earthworms are your greatest underground allies. These silent soil engineers are constantly working behind the scenes, improving soil structure, increasing nutrient availability, and promoting microbial activity. For gardeners, attracting earthworms into your garden beds or raised beds isn't just a nice bonus, it's a major step toward achieving healthier plants and more productive crops. Whether you're growing vegetables, flowers, or fruit, understanding how to invite and sustain a thriving earthworm population can dramatically change the game. Let's dive into the 5 things you should be doing right now to create a worm-friendly environment, followed by 4 critical things that may unknowingly be keeping these little soil workers far from your garden. Feed your soil, not just your plants. The number one way to attract earthworms is by feeding the soil consistently with organic matter. Earthworms thrive in environments rich in decomposing material. Compost, well-rotted manure, shredded leaves, and kitchen scraps are all irresistible to worms. When you consistently layer these materials into your raised beds, or till them gently into the top few inches of your garden soil, you're building a buffet that earthworms won't be able to resist. Aim to add at least 1 inch of compost to your garden beds every season. For raised beds, this can be mixed gently with existing soil or used as a top dressing. If you're using raw kitchen scraps, bury them at least 6 inches deep to avoid attracting pests. Earthworms will find them quickly and go to work. Keep in mind that variety is key. Different types of organic material will attract a wider range of microbial life, which in turn attracts more earthworms. Keep the soil moist, but not soggy. Earthworms need moisture to breathe through their skin. Dry soil is a death zone for them, while overly saturated soil can drown them or create anaerobic conditions that drive them away. The sweet spot is evenly moist soil. Think of the texture of a wrung-out sponge. If you're in a dry climate or facing a hot summer, mulching becomes essential. Use straw, shredded leaves, or even grass clippings to lock in moisture and create a cooler surface temperature. A 2 to 3 inch mulch layer will help maintain soil moisture and temperature, creating a perfect habitat for worms to thrive just below the surface. Water deeply, but infrequently. For example, aim for 1 inch of water per week, including rainfall. Use a rain gauge or empty tuna can to measure your watering. Morning irrigation is ideal because it reduces evaporation and gives the soil time to dry slightly before nightfall, which keeps conditions healthy for both plants and earthworms. Ditch synthetic fertilizers and instead, use worm-friendly amendments. One of the fastest ways to actually repel earthworms is by overusing synthetic fertilizers. High-salt chemical fertilizers not only burn plants when they're misapplied, they also create a harsh environment that disrupts microbial life and drives worms away. Instead, focus on natural amendments that both improve soil health and attract earthworms. Try using a diluted molasses tea once a month during the growing season to stimulate microbial activity. Here's a simple formula. Mix 2 tablespoons of unsulfured blackstrap molasses into 1 gallon of non-chlorinated water. Then, just pour this mixture evenly over your raised beds or garden soil. The sugars feed beneficial microbes, which in turn attract earthworms looking for food. Additionally, alfalfa meal, rock dust, and worm castings themselves can help build a more worm-friendly soil profile. Always choose slow-release organic options that mimic natural nutrient cycles. The more alive your soil becomes, the more earthworms you'll find working beneath the surface. Avoid tilling or disturbing the soil structure. Tilling may seem like a necessary step for preparing new beds, but it can seriously disrupt earthworm populations. Every time you till, you're not just flipping soil, you're destroying worm burrows, cutting up their eggs, and disrupting the micro-ecosystems that support them. Instead, adopt a no-till or low-till approach. When preparing a new bed, consider layering compost and mulch directly over existing soil rather than digging in. Known as sheet mulching or lasagna gardening, this method builds soil from the top down and encourages worms to move upward naturally to process the new material. Over time, your soil becomes looser and more workable thanks to the worm's natural tunneling, which improves aeration and drainage. This approach builds soil organically and keeps earthworms safe and productive. So, plant cover crops and keep roots in the ground. Earthworms don't just love organic matter, they're actually drawn to living roots and the soil life they support. Cover crops such as clover, rye, or vetch provide not only ground cover, but also a steady stream of root exudates, which are basically sugary substances that attract soil microbes. These microbes become worm food, and, the cover crop roots provide structure and moisture-holding capacity to the soil. Even in raised beds, it's a good idea to consider planting winter cover crops or interplanting with quick-growing greens in the off-season. If you must clear a bed, try to keep some root mass in place and mulch heavily rather than leaving the soil bare. Worms will remain active even in the cooler months if there's cover and food available. So what keeps worms away? And how do you stop doing it? While building a worm haven is pretty straightforward once you know the basics, there are some common practices that can actually cancel all your efforts. Let's break down 4 habits that are unintentionally making your soil unwelcoming for worms. So even if you're only spraying for a specific pest, many chemical pesticides and herbicides actually create toxic environments for earthworms. Broad-spectrum sprays might kill off the microorganisms that worms rely on for food, or contaminate the soil in ways that damage their sensitive skin. And many herbicides also alter the natural soil structure, making it harder for worms to navigate and find food. If pest pressure is high, it's best to opt for natural or biological controls. Neem oil, insecticidal soap, and companion planting are all safer alternatives that help maintain soil life. Spot treat when necessary, and honestly, always read labels carefully to avoid harming those beneficial insects and underground allies. Letting soil dry out or stay exposed is a big no-no. Bare soil heats up faster, loses moisture more quickly, and offers no protection for earthworms from predators or the elements. Whether you're working in a traditional garden or a raised bed, bare soil is just a hostile place for worms. If you're not using mulch or cover crops, your soil is losing organic matter, drying out faster, and becoming compacted, none of which encourages earthworm habitation. The fix is simple. Always keep the soil covered. If you've just harvested a crop, spread compost and mulch right away. Even a light layer of straw or shredded newspaper will go a long way toward creating a comfortable microclimate for worms. Adding uncomposted citrus-heavy or salty waste is something you really want to avoid. Worms are picky eaters, and while they'll process a wide range of organic material, certain things are simply off-limits. Citrus peels, onions, garlic, salty food scraps, and spicy leftovers can all create hostile zones in your garden. The acidity or salt content in these materials can irritate or kill worms on contact. If you're composting your kitchen scraps before adding them to your garden beds, that's fine. But avoid adding these types of materials directly into your soil. Stick to neutral, high-carbon materials like shredded paper, coffee grounds, vegetable peels, and aged manure. The goal is to create a gentle, neutral environment where worms can thrive, not fight for survival. Compacting your soil by walking or working it too much can be a real problem. Earthworms need space to move and, air to breathe. When you compact your soil, by walking on beds, overwatering, or even working wet soil, you create tight, airless conditions that crush worm tunnels and make it hard for them to survive. In raised beds, always avoid stepping into the growing area. If your garden is in-ground, use stepping stones or permanent paths. After a heavy rain, wait until the soil dries before digging or planting. And if your soil already feels dense or clay-heavy, amend it with compost and organic matter consistently over time to loosen the structure naturally. So the takeaway here is that building an earthworm-friendly garden or raised bed isn't about gimmicks. It's about creating the right conditions that mirror nature. When you feed your soil with rich organic matter, keep it moist and covered. Avoid harmful chemicals and treat it like the living system it is. Earthworms will come. And when they do, they'll repay you in healthier crops, better soil structure, and a more vibrant garden overall. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Soil and Crop Central on YouTube for more real, down-to-earth tips like this. Share this with your gardening friends and help others build healthier, more worm-friendly gardens too.